F1. Red flag. Red flag's to slow down. What?
The checkered flag is waiting.
I can see our Checkered Flag podcast being quite spicy.
5 Live's Checkered Flag podcast.
Welcome back to the Checkered Flag podcast, post-Canada Grand Prix, where Max Verstappen took yet another win, his 41st in his career. He equals the late, great Ayrton Senna. And with that win, Red Bull achieved 100 Grand Prix wins. To dissect all the action over the next 20 minutes or so is myself, Harry Benjamin, and somebody alongside me who called all the action is American racing driver Oliver Askew. Oliver, this was your first Grand Prix with us here on 5 Live, but it was Max Verstappen, a familiar face at the top.
Yeah, fantastic to be here with you guys, first of all. Thanks for having me. And thoroughly enjoyed the weekend standing inside of Max Verstappen garage of Red Bull Racing, achieving the 100th win for the team and his 41st win, matching Ayrton Senna. What more is there to say? I mean, it's just unbelievable for him.
It really is. It's so easy to ride off Verstappen, really, as already winning this championship, and looking at the guys behind him vying for the midfield pack and the final places on the podium. We've actually come out to the pit lane now, and it's rather muggy. It's overcast and grey. We're right outside the Red Bull garages, and Pack Down is already commencing. They're super quick here. They've just completely taken all the dry ice out of some of the containers here, and they're packing up things. The blocking boards are out as well. The media scrum are waiting to try and catch a glimpse of Verstappen. So it's all go here straight after the race is over.
Yeah, it's amazing me right now just seeing how quickly and efficiently that these teams are packing down, and maybe I shouldn't be so amazed by it because they have so much practice week end out, doing this job. And props to these teams for spending so much time away from their families every year and every season in Formula One. It's just getting longer this season, right? So compared to a couple of years ago, and even Max mentioned it during his press conference, he doesn't try and compare himself against those records of Ayrton Senna back in the day because the season wasn't as long then. So yeah, very cool to see the organization of these teams and the efficiency.
Well, with that 41st career win, Max Verstappen extends his championship advantage over his teammate Sergio Perez. 69 points the gap now. Let's hear from Max Verstappen.
Hey Max, congratulations, epic drive out there, 100th win for Red Bull. You must be delighted.
Yeah, I think overall, of course, it was a great day again. It was not the easiest day because it was hard to keep the tire temperature, especially on the hard tire. So that was maybe not the best stint, but we kept the gap, and we just managed that stint on the hard, and then we switched back to the medium, which I think was a little bit better for me. But not the easiest day. I think normally we are very strong on tire deck, and here it's actually the opposite. I think today you probably would have wanted a car which was maybe a bit harder on the tires to switch them on, but nevertheless, we still won, and that's what counts.
And it does feel like the field's closing up, right? So you haven't got it easy, have you?
No, like I said, I think today is also not our strength. It didn't play to our strength, so yeah, we take it. I mean, it's probably not very representative what happened today for most of the tracks, but people are pushing, we are pushing, and you have better races, and some races they are a bit more difficult.
And it's quite some run, 6 wins out of 8. Are you just surprised at how good it's going?
It's going really well, but it's still a very long way to go as well, and I know that, so we just keep focusing race by race.
Great stuff, thank you. Thanks.
Max Verstappen speaking to Lawrence Barretto there. Now, as we meander down the pit lane, shall we, Ollie? Because it's quite a privileged position, actually, that we both find ourselves in, and both newbies, both rookies doing this as well, having a walk and talk. Producer Paddy trusting us with the Checkered Flag podcast. Let's talk about second place man, Fernando Alonso, as we hear the thumping music coming out of the Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez garages. The Red Bull racing team known for their fun choice in music. They're the party team, really, aren't they? But down at Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso back onto the podium. He wasn't really a match for Alonso, but that second and third fight between him and Hamilton was on at certain parts of that race.
Yeah, it was. And I'm just counting the garages here. 7th in last year's Constructors' Championship was Aston Martin to to turn that around now and be fighting the giants of Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull, I think is a very big accomplishment for that team. And I can't help but think, how much further ahead in the constructors they would be over Mercedes with the help of Lance Stroll. Yes, he did score points today. It was only a couple. He will be looking to learn how Fernando is getting the success, hopefully, and be able to match him or just get thereabouts is all he needs to do to help that team.
Fernando Alonso really spearheading it, isn't he? But it was a heavyweight podium as well. Many championship titles up on that podium. Fernando Alonso in second place. So let's hear what he had to say again with Lawrence Barretto.
Hey Fernando, congratulations. Back on the podium. Great race, great battle with Lewis. You must be delighted.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a super day for us. The car felt good, competitive. We lost a place at the start, but then we were able to overtake Luis, and at the end, when we thought that the race was a little bit over and secure, Luis was very fast and putting out the pressure on us. So it was at the end 70 laps of qualifying, so I really love it.
I loved hearing that message when you said to your engineer, I want to win this race. Did you feel at some point that you could really keep pushing and put some pressure on Max?
Yes, because it's already too many times that we are just hoping for something happening to Red Bull, which it never does, and we need to win it on merit, and we need to put some pressure on them, maybe forcing an error. But they were fast, and at one point, we had to give up on Max and concentrate on Luis because he was fast as well.
But you're getting there, aren't you, catching those Red Bulls? It looks like the gap's closing.
I think this was our most competitive race for sure of the year. Only 7 seconds from Max, and we were matching the lap times most of the race. So I'm very happy with the car, with the upgrades that we brought here. So more chances will come.
Great stuff. Congrats.
Thanks.
I suppose the thing about Fernando Alonso, Ollie, is we have a little peek outside the Ferrari pit gantry there, already unplugging the screens and the wires, and everybody vacating the area. The pit lane getting quieter and quieter as all the screens come up in front of the garages. So we can have a little peek through the gaps and see them working on the cars. But coming back to Fernando Alonso with that second place, there was talk, and he was posed a question in the post-race press conference. Could he overtake and beat Sergio Perez in that second Red Bull this year? Straight away, the answer was yes, and he absolutely could. This is a worry for the other side of the Red Bull garage. Yeah,
and in motorsport, there's a snowball effect, and when your momentum is going backwards, in Sergio Perez, that is the case, and it's hard to stop that train. And it doesn't help that his teammate Max Verstappen is continuing to grow the lead to him in the championship, where it was just a couple of weeks ago where he felt like he was able to take the fight to Max, and now he's within fighting distance of Fernando Alonso. So yeah, it's very difficult, and it's something that these athletes, really need to focus on is the mental aspect of motorsport and how to turn around those things.
Yeah, Fernando Alonso now third in the Drivers' Championship with 117 points. Sergio Perez in second with 126 points. So that gap is closing, and so Sergio Perez certainly needs to have a better qualifying time of it than recently. We haven't talked about Lewis Hamilton yet, who was third on the podium. He's now fourth in the Constructors, in the Drivers' Championship, I should say. And if anyone was going to go well around here, it was going to be Lewis Hamilton, a track that he has won at 7 times, and it was game on. It really was. I know we touched on it, but Lewis Hamilton on the podium completing that, he said it was a bit of an honour to be there with the other champions.
Yeah, fantastic to see. And as you said earlier, just a heavyweight podium, so much experience and accomplishments within that top 3. And I've experienced it in the past. I have my tracks that I love and I look forward to going to because it just... I can't explain.
Do you just have a natural affinity?
Sure, and drivers have different styles, and this track, for one reason or the other, seems to suit Lewis Hamilton year after year. 7 wins here. I think that's tied with Michael Schumacher for the most wins at the Montreal Grand Prix. So, yeah, I think he's going to leave here thinking, well, yeah, I kind of expected a strong run.
Well, here's another stat for you. Montreal is now the 8th circuit on which Hamilton has recorded 10 career podiums. So clearly Mercedes taking a slight step forward. Let's hear from Lewis Hamilton.
Hey Lewis, yesterday you were saying you were hoping to get a battle with Fernando. You did. It just didn't quite work out in your favour today.
Yeah, I was able to get him at the start, but I just didn't put up much of a fight at the end. I mean, he was going to pass me one way or another. The pace-wise, he was so much faster. I think at the time, probably close to half a second faster than me. So I just started to just look after the car and try and make sure I brought back as many points as possible.
I know that you haven't got the pace then to fight Aston or Red Bull at the minute, but does it feel like you guys are making progress and you are getting a little bit closer?
Yeah, definitely. We didn't make progress this weekend because we've not brought upgrades, but in general we've taken that step, and for us to be on the podium 2 races in a row is fantastic. We just got to keep chipping away at it, keep up with this consistency, and then I need a lump of performance added to the car, so that's what I'm asking for.
Third on the podium then, and speaking to Lawrence Barretto, just touching on the improved performance of Mercedes then. They were actually really playing it down coming into this weekend after the upgrades were introduced at the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. Barcelona, double podium with George Russell also joining Lewis onto the podium. But there was talk, they were downplaying it for this weekend, different track characteristics, but to have Hamilton up there, Russell obviously had a tough race with contact with the wall that ultimately put pay to his racing ambitions. But I think, can we take this as a sign that Mercedes are now back in the fight, at least with Aston Martin?
Yeah, hard to read into with only a couple of races after that, the Monaco GP upgrade that they introduced on that weekend. It's certainly, look, it's a development race. Formula One is all about, looking forward and trying to get the absolute most out of these cars. But it's important to note, when teams say that they have brought an upgrade to their car, that upgrade is very rarely more than a tenth in performance. So the margins are extremely small. It's much more than a tenth that they're looking for to match Max Verstappen, and even Fernando Alonso, I think, is a couple of tenths up the road on average from Lewis Hamilton, at least on this day.
Certainly is. Well, that was your heavyweight podium then. As we have a little wander down the pit lane, just having a look into the Alpine side of the garage. Again, lots of work being done. Then we can see parts of the side pod already off and on display for us quite nicely, actually. But we will come on to talking a little bit about Alpine, also the Ferraris, and a very good result for Alex Albon in the Williams. Up next. Welcome back to the Chequered Flag podcast. The music is absolutely thumping outside of all the garages here as the pack down is in full force. The high-vis gear is on. The jacks are all ready to start transporting all of the equipment that it takes to fly Formula One around the world. We've got railings being taken down. We've got pit gantries being lowered. There's a bit of action outside of Aston Martin at the moment as all the team are outside in front having, I think, a bit of celebration and photo being taken for Fernando Alonso's podium finish. Lance Stroll also into the points. You can hear the cheers in the background as well. Back on the podium for Fernando Alonso. Brilliant to see. But let's have a look at some of the other standouts from this weekend, Ollie. Actually, a good race for the Ferraris. 4th and 5th. Good damage limitation, especially for Charles Leclerc after a disastrous qualifying. Yeah,
certainly. And props to that team for going against what was common as far as strategy goes down the grid. Playing it differently, strategy-wise today to most of the other teams, and sometimes that doesn't fare well for them. And I think it's fair to give them props this weekend. And I think Charles Leclerc mentioned in practice a couple of days ago that this was the best he's felt in his Ferrari this year, and definitely showing a better form in the race today.
Yeah, Leclerc with that P4 finish has only finished higher once this year. Can you believe that? 3rd in Baku. So hopefully will be a slight turning of the tide that Leclerc and Ferrari so want. And we can hear from Leclerc now. He's again with Lawrence Barretto.
Hey, Charles, considering where you started today, is P4 a reasonable result for you guys?
Yeah, I think we couldn't have done anything better. The feeling was good, the pace was quite good, so on that I'm happy. Again, starting from that far behind, that was the best we could do today.
Did you have a good chat with the team last night as well after what happened in qualifying?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't spend too much time on it because we still had a race to do, which we did now. And today we should be happy. We must be happy about our performance because it's a good performance. The feeling with the car was great. We did a good strategy. I mean, all in all, it was a great management of the race, and that is very positive. Now from tomorrow we will regroup and obviously analyze the weekend as a whole and try to understand what we can do better for the future.
Yeah, tyre management in particular, it looked like you could push the compounds. The fact you could take them medium so long is something you probably didn't think you'd be able to do in other races gone by, so that must be encouraging.
Yeah, it is definitely encouraging. Again, the feeling with the car, I was really happy, so that is good. Tyre management was good, so it's a positive Sunday.
Great stuff, thank you.
Well, that was Charles Leclerc there speaking on his P4 finish. Carlos Sainz right behind him in 5th, and then came Sergio Perez in 6th. But then as we squeeze our way past the Aston Martin team, they're all awaiting Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso as they're celebrating those great results. Some tops are off too for some of the engineers, getting a few photos taken, but brilliant to see the hard work that goes on up and down the grid. But Aston Martin certainly enjoying their success, and it's brilliant to see. If you're hearing some barking in the background, they've got the sniffer dogs out, Ollie. They've got the big Alsatians roaming the pit lane. There's 3 big Alsatians in front of us, and we're going to risk it, and we're going to walk towards them. One of the dogs isn't liking Ollie at all. That barking is going straight for Askew there. I don't know what you've done, Askew. But,
I'm an animal whisperer. They're just communicating.
Well, you know what? The one that's barking is right outside of Alex Albon's Williams garage, and what a result for them. He topped Q2. Fastest time. They read the conditions, the changing conditions really well, and then have been able to finish 7th. That's a big haul of points for a team like Williams, and it was fantastic driving from Albon, who had to defend for his life. It wasn't handed to him on a plate.
Yeah, huge result by this team, Williams Racing, this weekend. Important to note, Alex Albon coming into this weekend with a big upgrade. On the other side of the garage, Logan Sargent did not receive that upgrade, so we'll be looking for him to pick up the pace once he gets those pieces on the car in the coming races. But yeah, it's one thing to put upgrades on the car. It's another thing to really take advantage of those upgrades, and Alex Albon certainly doing that today. Driver of the day as well.
He absolutely was.
He did a fantastic job of keeping that string of cars behind him. A defensive masterclass is what I'd call it today.
Yeah, it really was. Let's hear from your driver of the day, Alex Albon.
Hey, Alex. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The fans loved it. They voted you driver of the day.
Great.
Pleased with the efforts out there because it was something special.
Yeah, it was great. It was super. It was more than I expected, of course. It was stressful as well, I have to say. I don't enjoy them races, but the team are putting me in them situations. So, it was good. There was a point in the race where we were on them tyres, and they told me, you got 40 laps or what to do the rest of the race, and I thought, you guys are crazy. But we made it last. Obviously, the closing speed of the cars behind was quite big, so I didn't think I'd be able to hold them off. But obviously, George looked like he ran into some brake issues, and then Esteban just didn't have the straight line speed to get past us. So, it works in our favour. We know we have a slippery car. The cool track, I think, just helped keep my tyres alive long enough and good enough for them not to be able to overtake me. So, I'm super happy.
Esteban was waxing lyrical about your straight line speed, obviously naturally frustrated by it. Huge point score for you guys on a weekend where you do need to capitalise when things go right, don't you?
Precisely that. So I have to say, the work that's been done at the factory to get this upgrade ready has been monumental. We knew this track would suit us, and we did put a lot into this weekend. We really put our eggs into one basket, and it's great to pay off. We are fighting the AlphaTauris in the championship, and they are very consistent, dangerously consistent. But luckily for us, and unfortunately for them, they've always, they're in the kind of P11 area. So to get these points on the board, I believe puts us up into 9th now. For now, we need to continue with that. This upgrade is working well, so let's see.
Great stuff. Congrats. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex Albon then, and once again speaking to Lawrence Barretto, and with those points scored for 7th place, he rockets himself up into 12th in the drivers' standings, and Williams now removed themselves from the bottom of the constructors' standings and get one place up into 9th. So AlphaTauri now right at the bottom of the constructors' championship, but a brilliant result for Albon in P7. Williams' best result in a race since George Russell was second at that Spa 2021 half points race. So really good stuff. Best in a full points race since Nicholas Latifi, 7th back last year at the Hungarian Grand Prix. So either way, very good results for both Albon and Williams there. As we kind of find ourselves right at the end of the pit lane, as the sun is really starting to peek out from behind the clouds now. There's a real cascade of clouds on the right-hand side of the paddock, and then over on the left, as we look towards the high-rise buildings of the central business district, we can see bright blue sunshine and the sun absolutely scorching now. I definitely need to remove my little jacket. But anything else from that race, Ollie, that really stood out to you?
Yeah, just on that note with the weather, I have to mention, out of all my races and times at tracks in my career in motorsport, the changes in weather this weekend have been drastic from hour to hour. Even today, without the precipitation, the wind gusts came and went, and the sun is popping out every now and again. So certainly difficult for these drivers to find a rhythm this weekend.
Ocon P8 in the Alpine, Valtteri Bottas P10 in the Alfa Romeo. A couple of good points finishes for those two. Ocon's on a bit of a roll at the moment. Scored points in all 4 starts in Montreal, so he loves this track anyway. But of course, the podium finisher from Monaco, once again doing the business, unlike the other side of the garage, Pierre Gasly. Another tough weekend for him. And good to see Valtteri Bottas being able to steal that final point in 10th. At a much-needed time for not him just only as a driver, but for that Alfa Romeo team as well.
Yeah, back-to-back points finishes for Alfa Romeo in such a close midfield championship fight. Every place in that championship fight in the midfield is certainly important, and Valtteri Bottas, one of the hardest, most competitive drivers on the grid, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Well, we found ourselves back at Aston Martin. We've just been dodging and darting between some forklifts, hugs all round from the team with Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, and there's some fans who are overlooking the pit lane screaming Fernando, really trying to get a glimpse of the man. The team principal Mike Crack is down here as well, giving an interview. And it's all heading off in Aston Martin, though, as they have a kiss of the trophy, and suddenly the celebrations start to dissipate. Ollie's found the dry ice. Just a few minutes left then for this Canada review of the Chequered Flag podcast. Should we talk about bad days at the office? What did you make of Kevin Magnussen and Nick De Vries? They had a little coming together. It was rather bizarre. It was under investigation, but De Vries, in a very reminiscent manoeuvre that Nico Rosberg did in Austria back in 2016, diving down the inside of Magnussen, but then locked up his wheels, and that forced both of them off into the runoff area.
Yeah, it's easy for us as spectators to critique the drivers that didn't do so well this weekend, but I have to say, it was disappointing to see Nick De Vries, make those moves, and he could have knocked both cars out of the race, but they're nowhere near points-paying positions. Yes, I know that he's being judged every lap by his team, because there's a question mark whether or not that he will stay there next year. So he's trying to prove his worth and every chance he gets. Unfortunately, made that mistake. In my opinion, he caused the collision there. Just missed a penalty, so he was lucky to walk away without one of those. And for the Haas of Kevin Magnussen, look, they just didn't have the pace today. Both him and Nico Hülkenberg, very difficult for them this weekend in a car that struggles with tire wear on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've just made our way through the adjoining tunnel that allows you to enter the paddock, and the music really blaring outside the Alfa Romeo Hospitality. It's actually a nice bit of a breeze that's kicked up after a rather sweltering walk up and down the paddock we've just endured. But the helicopters are starting to make their way back to base. The tyres are being cleared up and sent back to HQ at Pirelli to be analysed and cleaned. And just once again outside the Aston Martin paddock, lots of smiles there. Not as many outside of Haas as you can allude to. Final note, Ollie, on the two McLarens. Shall we just have a quick word on them? Norris was in the points until he got a 5-second penalty for unsportsmanlike behaviour.
I got to say hi to my friend really quick.
Okay.
Back from karting.
Askew's back from saying his hellos to the paddock members here. Very popular man here you are, Askew.
I don't know about that. It was my friend Ed Brands, who I used to race karts with over 10 years ago now.
Wow.
And yeah, I knew he was here in this paddock. I had just, hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm getting a couple of those now.
Well, as the helicopter screams overhead for us. Let's just get a final word on the McLarens there. Norris was running in the points until he got a 5-second penalty for unsportsmanlike behaviour. Piastri, a good weekend for him. The crash in Q3 putting a little bit of a black dot against his name, but other than that, he was right up there with Norris for the majority of it.
It's a race of what could have been for McLaren, in my opinion. A very strong start for both of those drivers, running well within the points-paying positions. And yeah, unfortunate end results for that team, but it was a good showing. I mean, they have pace in that car. I think they're going to be looking for a lot more in the coming races.
Right, well, Oliver Askew, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you on the coverage with us this weekend. Hope you've enjoyed it. You've been brilliant.
I have. Thanks for having me.
Well, I hope you can come back at some stage. Wish you the best of luck with the rest of your season as well. F1 returns in just under a couple of weeks' time, where we head to Austria. Well, it was Max Verstappen who took his 41st career win, but that also sealed 100 Grand Prix wins for Red Bull Racing. And Austria, the home of Red Bull, can they suddenly now turn that into 101? How many more can they do? This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live.